Hi everybody, this is JJ Long from JJArtworks and welcome to episode 5 of our 5-part series about mental health awareness. So if this is your first time tuning in, again, my name is JJ Long. I suffer from bipolar 1 disorder, and this is just my story of what I've gone through so far over the past decade of being diagnosed bipolar. And one of my main missions in life is to help spread mental health awareness and encourage other people that have mental illness to share their stories as well. So we sort of get rid of that stigma that people have around mental health illness. I think the more people that can be vulnerable and honest and sincere about what they go through, that really can change society for the better. And you don't know who you're helping. I mean, even if you just help one person, it's so worth it to share your story. So that's what I'm trying to do today. So let's talk about my 4th manic episode. But before we get into that, I need to kind of lead up to that 4th manic episode. And I want to sort of share with you about 7 years, because there's a big gap, or actually, yeah, there's a huge gap. There's a 10-year gap from the Beverly Hills incident to basically present day, my last manic episode. So my last manic episode, the 4th one, happened this past late July, early August, and I was in the psych ward for 3 weeks. But let me sort of lead up to that, because there's a lot of information that I want to share with you so you kind of understand where my brain was when I was in the psych ward. So I got back from Beverly Hills. I'm just gonna, again, piggyback off of the last episode. I get back from Beverly Hills and I was really pissed off at God. I'm not gonna lie. I still believe in the law of attraction. I tried to go to Beverly Hills to get answers from Jim Carrey, who I believe I saw walk right by me, and I wasn't able to get answers. So I said, you know what, God, I'm really pissed off at you right now. I'm gonna just lead my life the way I want to lead it. And you know what? I really need to take care of my finances, because at this point in time, I was just using credit cards and I was like over $20,000 in debt. And I was like, I need to hit the reset button on my financial life, because I'm not going to be able to survive much longer. And what I decided to do was file bankruptcy. It was just the quick, easiest decision to do that. So I filed bankruptcy, got all my debt discharged, and then in the same breath, I started the paint and sip company, my paint party business. And there was a couple of instances where I was like, maybe I should work like at a tattoo parlor being an assistant, or maybe I should assist at a paint and sip company, or maybe I should, continue to do the galleries and the art exhibits and everything. But I was like, you know what? Like, I really think that having the paint and sip company be a branch of my company can be a very beneficial thing, because I do have this vision for JJArtworks to be like a Disney and be a diversified entertainment company. And I was like, teaching paint parties, I think this is something that's a great first branch of the company, and it still is our biggest branch to this day. And I'm so happy that I started this, about 9 years ago. I've been doing paint parties, which is pretty crazy. We started the paint party branch in 2015. So 2015, I start JJArtworks Paint Party Professionals, and I was still seeing a therapist. I had switched therapists. I started seeing a therapist, a new psychiatrist. I'm still on medicine. And, the business is kind of going all over the place. There's a lot of ups and downs in the marketplace. But I was still seeing a therapist, still seeing a psychiatrist, still staying on medicine, still exercising as much as humanly possible. And I also started seeing a life and business coach, which was another great support system to have. So I started seeing somebody on a regular basis, like a once a week basis, where I was sort of being educated on how to run a business, and I could also share my personal issues that I was going through. And one of the biggest things I was going through was the side effect of what I believe that the risperidone was giving me. So the trileptal I was on was a mood stabilizer, and the risperidone was an antipsychotic. And that was affecting my libido big time. Like I just had, I was not functioning well in the sex department, and I was just really embarrassed and depressed because I was having libido issues, and it was because of the medicine. And I really feel like more men need to, if you're going through something, be a little vulnerable and share that with people, because those things happen. We all have crazy side effects from these medicines, and I really think that people should really share their authentic voice about this, because no one was talking to me about libido issues, that the medicine could lead to that. But so I could confide in my life coach, and I'm confiding in him on a regular basis, and I'm like, yeah, the medicine is really I'm just going through these libido issues, and we kept talking about it and trying to shine the light on it and try to figure out how to fix it. And finally, I was like, you know what? I really want to taper off from the medicine, because also being an actor, I want to be able to reach my natural energy levels. And for 7 years being on medicine, I felt like there was like a gray cloud over me, and I just felt like I couldn't reach excitement really. And I just, I was going through life, I was doing okay. People would ask me, how you doing? And I'm doing all right, it's going okay. Yeah, I'm hanging in there. But I was never like, yeah, oh my God, life's amazing, blah, blah. Like no excitement whatsoever. I was just kind of focusing on being stabilized, and I wasn't focusing on, hairy, audacious goals in life, right? So I wasn't doing anything that was lighting me up. I was just kind of going with the flow, and just, that's what medicine does for me anyways. I just feel like there's a gray cloud over me, and I can't break through the glass ceiling. It's as far as energy goes. So I was having these regular conversations with my life and business coach, and I said, if I were to ever taper off of the medicine, I know exactly what I would do. I would get a team of people, and I would have us all meet up, and it would be like a circle of the round table, right? Kind of like King Arthur. And I would share my story with everybody and explain to people why I want to get off this medicine. And with his help, he's like, well, you got my support if you want to do that. And I said, let me talk to my PCP first. Let me make sure he's on board. And then if he's on board, then I actually really want to do this. And he said, okay, cool. So I talked to my PCP, and he was totally on board. He was like, when was the last time you had a manic episode? And I said, 7 years ago. I've been on medicine for 7 years, and I haven't had a manic episode. Now, maybe it's because of the medicine that I haven't had a manic episode, but I feel like I owe it to myself to try to get off the medicine, because the first 33 years of my life, I was not on medicine, and I functioned fine. And I really think that my trigger is the law of attraction, which is, based from The Secret and all that stuff. So I really feel like I've identified what my trigger is, and as long as I sort of keep that at bay, I really think that I can get off the medicine, and I really feel like I owe it to myself. And plus it's affecting my libido, and I really don't like that. I do want to get married someday, have kids and all that stuff. So he was like, yeah, we can give it a shot. And he was like, do you want to start tomorrow? I'm like, no. Let me assemble my Avengers team first, and then we can talk about tapering off, like a taper schedule. So he was like, all right, that sounds great. So I got a team of people together, and it was the people I'm closest to and the people that saw me the most often. So they could be the first ones to detect if I was exhibiting any type of manic behavior, or if I had any type of odd behavior. So it was my parents, it was my sister, it was her husband, my brother-in-law, it was my brother, it was my life and business coach at the time, it was my shipping and receiving manager at the time, it was my bookkeeper at the time, and then it was a close family friend, or she's like family. It was a close family member that was also a sex therapist, and she wasn't, educating me on sex therapy, but she was a therapist, so she's around mental illness all the time, but she also has the benefit of knowing me since I was born. So she was a great person to have on my team. So there was basically like 10 of us, and we met up at my parents' house in Melrose. I ordered Chinese food, And I just explained to everybody, this is what's going on with me. This is affecting my libido. I feel like there's a gray cloud over me, and I feel like I owe it to myself to come off of medicine. And everyone was on board because they all love me. They want what's best for me. And what I did was I basically gave everyone's contact information to everybody. And I said, if we're going to do this, let's do this right. If any of you see me exhibiting some odd behavior or anything like that, feel free to reach out to each other and just kind of check in. And then feel free to approach me and say, hey, JJ, we're kind of worried about you. You're kind of trending in the wrong direction. And I told them, just, flat out, honestly, maybe the medicine is keeping me grounded, but maybe it's not. And the only way I'm going to find out is if I have the courage to kind of taper off. And I have the support of my PCP. I have the support of my life and business coach. I got all this support. So they were like, okay, cool. So then I went to work with my PCP. At the time, I was on 1,200 milligrams of trileptal and I think a half a milligram of risperidone. So he was like, let's tackle the trileptal first, and then we will finish off the tapering off of the risperidone. So I said, that's perfect. The first taper was, we took away 300 milligrams of the risperidol, of the trileptal, and we let that go for 3 weeks, and then we met up on Zoom. This was all via Zoom because this was sort of around when the pandemic was still, everyone's wearing masks still and all that stuff. So this was like 2021, and they weren't doing any inpatient visits really. It was just all telehealth. So I did all this via telehealth. And we took away 300 milligrams. Then I checked in with him 3 weeks later, and I'd check in, and he saw me on the screen, and he was like, so how you feeling? I'm like, I feel great. I don't really feel any different. And he's like, okay, that's good. He was like, you look fine. You don't seem like you're exhibiting any odd behavior. You don't seem manic, so that's good. And he's like, okay, well, I think that we can take another 300 milligrams away, and we'll meet up in 3 weeks. So then I went from 900 milligrams to 600 milligrams. So, did that for 3 weeks. The first day or two of tapering down, I did feel a little groggy, a little wobbly, but then very quickly I kind of stabilized myself, and I felt fine. So that's just a quick side note. If you're currently going through a taper or thinking about going through a taper, the first day or so you might feel a little groggy, but that's fine. I could feel a slight change. I felt a little bit lighter. It was a positive feeling. So we went down to 600 milligrams, met up with my PCP on telehealth. He's like, so how you feeling? I'm like, I feel great. I really do. And he's like, well, you don't seem manic. You seem very even keel. And yeah, let's take away another 300. So then I went from 600 milligrams to 300 milligrams. And I did that all the way until we tapered 100% off the trileptal. And I think the last taper off of the trileptal, it was like a full month before I talked to him, because he wanted me to get a feel for how I felt just completely off of the trileptal. So after we were completely off the trileptal, he was like, all right, let's do the risperidone. He's like, do you want to, it's only a half a milligram. Do you just want to take it away? And I said, no, I like the idea of going down slowly. I'm like, I don't have to rush this process. I want to do things right. I want to make sure I'm in, the right state of mind. Let's just, take the half milligram and cut it in half. So I did like 0.25, milligrams of the risperidone. I have a pill cutter, and we did that for 3 weeks. And then we did the last half of the risperidone. And then once I was completely off of all my medicine, we took a whole month to just be off of the medicine and then do another check-in. And it actually happened. I was successfully tapered off of all the medicine on December 31st, 2021. So New Year's Eve. So I started off 2022, January 1st, medicine free. It was like the best feeling of my life. And he was like, congratulations, you're off the medicine. We should still meet up maybe every 6 months just to make sure we know where you're at. And I said, okay, sounds good. And I was basically medicine free, everybody, for 2.5 years. And for 2.5 years, no medicine, no manic episodes. It was just, I was doing fine. I was doing great. So now we're going to tie this into my 4th manic episode. And this one was very different. Every manic episode, if you've listened to the other 4 episodes I recorded, you'll notice every episode's a little bit different. It was like the rugby game, and then it was it Beverly Hills? It was the rugby game, and then I was breaking into the neighbor's house, and then it was Beverly Hills, and this one's also very different. So we're gonna fast forward to this past July. So picture this, I'm medicine free for 2.5 years, and this past, the first quarter of this year has been really rocky. Business has been slow. My finances have kind of been all over the place. I had to get rid of my art studio in Lawrence. I just wasn't in love with our landlord, and it was just a bad spot of town. So I was like, let's just the energy's off there. Let's kind of get out of there. And then my grandmother died, my Oma. She died in April, and that was a heavy, heavy loss for my family. We all thought she was going to live to be 120, and she passed away at 89. So that really kind of did something, I think, for my psyche and my emotions. And then, in the same breath, we're trying to sell her house. And then in the same breath, my parents are selling their house because they want to move to LA. And there was just a lot of things going on that were kind of, I felt depression kind of sinking in again, and I felt on edge. But I, tried to wake up every day with a smile on my face and just, hitting my nose to the grindstone and continuing to put my best foot forward. But I could feel tension. Since my Oma died, there's just been a little bit of tension inside of me, and it's hard to explain. But what led to this manic episode was business has been slow. I was spending a lot of time trying to clean up my Oma's house and just mentally wrapping my head around my parents selling my childhood home that we've had in the family for 43 years, right? Or way over 43 years, but I've lived, I'm 43, so, it's my childhood home. It sucks. And I spent a week putting in 100 hours of work. And this is where it was kind of the tipping point where I started getting into delusional thinking again. So I've worked plenty of 80-hour work weeks, and I've worked plenty of 60, 70, 80-hour work weeks, but I've never put in 100 hours. And this was around 4th of July, maybe after 4th of July. And I literally spent 100 hours emailing everybody. I email just to drum up business. And if you're an entrepreneur, you might understand this, but a lot of the times you don't know when your next paycheck's going to come. So what I typically do is I try to follow up with our existing customers. And for the paint party business, we have, I don't know, anywhere between 150 to 200 people that have painted with us over the years. Probably more than that, but I mean, as far as businesses and really core clients, I'd say there's 150 to 200 contacts. And what I did was I emailed every single contact, trying to do personalized emails to these people, being like, hey, so-and-so, just wondering if you want to book a paint party sometime over the summer. And by the way, the summer tends to be the slow season for us. So it's even more imperative that I kind of drum up business for the company. And I was just doing my best to bring business in, and things just weren't happening. We also created a new paint line to our company. So we slowly were turning into an e-commerce store at the same time. So we literally have 500 milliliter bottles of paint that you can squirt out. And we have our own paintbrush sets, and then we have our own gaming miniatures. And I'm trying to get our paint supplies in different art and craft stores and other gaming stores. So I literally made a list of all the gaming stores in Massachusetts, emailed everybody, sent them a flyer, heard nothing, crickets. So none of our clients really got back. None of these businesses got back to us about the art supplies. I was posting crazy on social media. Hey, you know, hire me to paint your dog bingo. Hey, I do murals. Hey, you know, check out my song on Spotify. Hey, you know, if you need something written, I'm also a writer. And just trying to put myself out there as both a professional artist and as a business owner. And I think I made $50 that week. And I was on the verge of tears, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, God, but something's got to give. Something's got to give. I don't know what else I can do. I really don't know what else I can do. And I refuse to get a job at Market Basket, you know, being a cashier or something like that. Not that that's a bad profession to have, but I just refuse to get a 9-to-5 job somewhere. I've been self-employed for 20 years, and I really, what am I doing wrong? Like, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And what happened was, that's when I started thinking about energy again and the law of attraction. And I said to myself, you know, what am I doing? Like, me reaching out to people is actually pushing money away. So when you need money, and you're like, I need money, according to the law of attraction, you're focusing on a scarcity mindset. And when you just kind of live life like, oh, the money just comes in, that's more of an abundant mindset. So I was trying to strong arm the universe to death to try to get money, but according to the law of attraction, and you know, from spiritual practices, what you do is you just kind of let the money flow in, right? You don't try to reach out and try to force the money to happen. You kind of let opportunities come to you, and then you kind of sift through, you know, what opportunities you want. And it's a different way of thinking. I don't expect everyone to think this way. But again, the law of attraction for me is what my trigger is. So what happened was, I took a money mastery course from this person that is a law of attraction practitioner. I love her content. She really resonates with me as a teacher. And I spent some money on her course, took a money mastery course, and then within a few days to a week, by practicing her, you know, money mastery course and like putting out positive energy and trying to not force things to happen, money started coming in. And it was, I could visibly see that it was coming in a different way, and it was in alignment with the energy I was putting out. So picture emailing the whole world trying to bring money in, and then completely shifting that protocol and being like, you know what? I'm not going to email anybody. I'm actually just going to go paint and write or sing or do something that makes me happy. And then as a response to that type of energy, that's when the money started coming in. And I could, you know, thousands of dollars for an invoice. I was starting to sell, you know, paint bottles off of Amazon, and my brain just, again, it just exploded, and I started getting more and more elevated, more and more delusional. Again, the feeling of being watched by the CIA and the FBI, that all came back. And I just was spending money left and right, and I just, you know, money just keeps flowing in. It just keeps flowing in. And the odd behavior this time, though, which is crazy, it's crazy. The odd behavior that put me in the psych ward this time was, I went to a bar one night, had some, just by myself, which I never do. I only go to the bar with like friends and family. So for me to just to go to a bar on my own is kind of weird. But anyways, went to a bar on my own, met some people, left the bar. This is in downtown Lowell. And I ran into some homeless people. And I was like, hey, you know, how you doing? Like, I'd love to hear your story. I'm so sorry, you know, you're having a rough time. And I really connected with these homeless people. It was a sibling duo. And I was like, hey, you know, when was the last time you had some food? Like, when was the last time it's been like a day or so. I'm like, come to my place. Like, I literally live around the corner. Why don't you come to my place? And a couple people turned into like 4 or 5 people, came to my apartment, and I said, hey, you know, my place is your place. Feel free to raid the fridge. You can eat whatever you want. I'm giving them chips. And I was like, do you need some money? And I gave some money out to people. Again, a sign of mania is the spending sprees. So, but I'm like, they have it way more rough than I do. So one of the things as well that I've noticed with mania is it's basically a heightened, it's your essence magnified. It's the essence of who you are just up 20, 100 notches. And by nature, I'm a loving person. I want what's best for people. I really, really do just love humanity at large. And I tend to get overly huggy, right? I'm hugging people, I'm patting them on the back. I love you, I love you. I'm saying it, I'm verbally, verbally saying it. I'm hugging people, and that's just who I am. And I also like to give money away to people, because where I'm a struggling artist and I don't always have a lot of money, when I do find money, when it does come my way, I like to give it away. And, I take care of my responsibilities, but I like to give it away, and especially for homeless people. So that was the first trigger, or the first odd behavior that my family noticed. And then I just, again, I just kept getting loftier and loftier. I was talking to my family, talking to my sister. I wasn't really making any sense to them. My sister lives in California, and I talked to her, and she just knew that I was a little off. So she actually sent my parents to come to Lowell to pick me up. And again, my parents brought me to Melrose. And when I was in Melrose, what I did this time was I started feng shuiing their house. So thank God I didn't jump the fence again and break into anyone's house. But this time, what I started doing was I started feng shuiing my parents' house. And I've actually taken a course at Mind Valley. I took a course on Marie Diamond's feng shui class. So I am somewhat educated in feng shui, and I love feng shui to death. I love being able to orientate, doing interior design and like angling furniture a certain way, and just like cleaning. I like cleaning and organizing things. And when I was at my parents' house, it was a little cluttered, so I took it upon myself just to start organizing things. And when I organize, I'm like all in. So I'm moving furniture, I'm throwing stuff on the deck outside, in the backyard. I'm like, let's just clear out and gut out the whole living room and the den, and let's just, clear out the mouth of chi at the front door. And my parents woke up the next morning, like, what are you doing? Like, you're completely just dismantling our house. I'm like, no, I'm doing feng shui. And they didn't get it, but what I learned is I didn't ask their permission to do this, right? And I just sort of just did this, on my own. And that's when they were like, all right, something's wrong with JJ. We need to call like a mental health team. So a couple of mental health specialists came, and they basically had me sign this form. And I'm not exactly even sure what the form was, but I signed this form, and I was escorted by the ambulance and the police to the psych ward. Again, Melrose Wakefield Hospital. And again, I was section 12. So when you're section 12, you pretty much can't leave the hospital unless you take medicine and the doctor's ready to discharge you. So it's kind of like I relinquish a lot of my rights as a person to the doctor and to the psych ward. And it took me a couple of days of being in the psych ward this time. Again, this was just this past July, early August. It took me a couple of days to sort of settle in and kind of get a feel for, oh crap, I'm back here again. This kind of sucks. What's going on, God? Like, I don't understand. Like, why does this keep happening to me? There was a little bit of that, but I would say after a week, I really kind of came back to my senses. And the difference with this is the first couple of days when I was in the psych ward, I was very conscious of why I was in the psych ward. So I was definitely more aware of what was going on. And this time I had a business to run. So first couple of days, I kind of sobered up to life, so to speak, or I sobered up to reality. And I'm like, okay, I invited homeless people back to my apartment. I tried to feng shui at my parents' house. And that's really sort of what, put me here. Totally get it. But I was also medicine free, if you remember. So I've been medicine free for 2.5 years at this point. And I said, I know you're going to try to put me on medicine, but I refuse the medicine. I do not want to be on medicine. It affects my libido. I've been medicine free for 2.5 years. And the mental health specialist there, she said, yeah, it's your right to deny the medicine. if you fill out this form in 3 days, 3 business days, you basically will have the opportunity to get discharged. And I said, oh my God, that'd be great. And she's like, so fine, fill out this 3-day form. I did that. And basically, the first day I meet up with the doctor, and he's like, all right, Mr. Long, right now you're hypomanic, and I believe we should start putting you on like some Trileptal or blah, 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 like all these different medicines. I don't even know what they are anymore. And I said, well, I appreciate you wanting to do that, but I regretfully decline, and I don't want to take any medicine. And he's like, well, that's your choice, you know, and we shook on it, and, you know, he went away. Next day, I meet up with the doctor, and he's like, hey, Mr. Long, I still think you're hypomanic, and I believe that, you know, we need to put you on Trileptal and blah, blah, blah. And I said, again, I regretfully decline. I've been medicine-free for 2.5 years. I know what the medicine does to me, and I understand why I'm here, and, you know, I decline. I'm so sorry. And he's like, that's all right. Shook our hands on it. That you know, went away. Third day, I'm excited because I'm like, I'm going to get discharged today. That's what was going through my head. So we meet up, the doctor comes in, he's like, all right, Mr. Long, I think you're hypermanic now. And that's what I was kind of nervous. And I'm like, so are you saying that I'm more elevated today than I was yesterday? And he said, yes. And I know my energy pretty good. And I purposely was less energized that day, in fear that I would jeopardize myself of getting discharged. And I'm like, so you think and I was talking like this, I was like, so you think right now I'm more manic than I was yesterday? And he said, yes. And I said, I'm sorry, I regretfully decline. I understand you're doing what you think is best for me, but I'm trying to do what I think is best for me as well. And I'm gonna decline the medicine. He's like, all right, well, we have to petition to the courts now. I said, what are you talking about? He said, yeah, you have to start building a court case, and you know, it could happen anywhere between like 8 business days to like a month. What? I was like, well, I signed this form saying I could be discharged today. And he's like, well, I have to petition to the court, so that doesn't mean anything. And I can't tell you guys how pissed off I was when I heard that. I was livid. I was like, are you serious? Like, I was just so beside myself. So I was pissed, and I said, and he just got up and started walking away. I'm like, tell me the court process. Like, I don't want to go to court. What do you mean by petition? What, like, I don't even know what that term really means. Like, what? Because the last time I was in court, if you remember, I was being brought up on misdemeanor charges, and that is like that. It's the last place I want to be. And now I'm being a conscious person, understanding, you know, what's going on in my reality. And this doctor's saying I can't leave, and I'm probably going to be here for like 8 business days to a month, or whenever they have a court hearing that can pop up, you know, whenever the judge is available. And I was just so pissed off. So later on that day, I met up with my mental health specialist, and she was like, you know, you can fight the system from the inside out, but it's better for you to fight from the outside in. And I was like, you know, okay. So it was so frustrating. So I ended up meeting up with a court-appointed attorney twice, and basically he said, you know what, JJ, it's better if you it's better if you take the medicine, pop the pill, and you might be out of here in a week. And it just went against everything I believed in. So now I'm back on 1,200 milligrams of Trileptal. I'm on olanzapine, and I started off in 10 milligrams, but I tapered off of that 5 milligrams because I was overeating, and I was just getting very drowsy every day, and I was very groggy. And I did that with the assistance of my psychiatrist right now. But now I'm back to seeing a therapist, I'm back to seeing a psychiatrist, and there's a lot of different moving parts right now in my life. But that kind of brings you all up to present day. So this is a longer episode. I just really needed to kind of tell you what led up to my 4th manic episode. And this last one really hits home because it's the most recent. But the last thing I want to say, everybody, because I think my phone's going to die pretty soon. I love you all. I wish the best for all of you. If you are going through mental health issues, just know that you're not alone. Surround yourself by other people that love you, that want the best for you. Also, advocate for yourself. If you feel like certain medicine isn't working for you, advocate for yourself and tell your psychiatrist what's going on. Work on yourself with the help of your family, your friends, join a group, get the help of your PCP, your therapist, your psychiatrists, and just know that you're not alone. I love you. And for the families out there that are being affected by people in their family that have mental health issues, please be kind, please listen, please be patient, and please just understand that a lot of the times this is out of your loved one's hands and they're just going through a lot. So I love you all. Thank you so much for watching these 5 episodes. I truly appreciate it. I'll probably be posting many more videos in the days and months ahead, but I love you all, and I'll talk to you all in another video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.